Well, today I have an absolutely wonderful guest. I've been following her on Facebook. Her posts are magical. So it's really a thrill and an honor to have Asha Ramakrishna join me today. Asha is a #1 best-selling author of her book, The Priestess Code, and we will be getting into this today. Awakening the Modern Woman, where feminine principles are revealed for a more organic and harmonious approach to life. With a background in molecular biology and business development, she breaks all esoteric teachings into practical and logical approaches to living. Asha is a minister of spiritual peacemaking and incorporates philosophies such as Feng Shui, karma healing, and human design, just to name a few. She's originally from Venezuela and is part Indian. She currently lives in Harvard, Mass. With her soulmate, 2 human daughters, and a 50-pound Portuguese Water Dog that just had the most beautiful litter of puppies. Asha, welcome, girl.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I love to say that about the dog because she's probably my favorite out of the whole family.
I know the feeling. My baby girl is my baby girl. She's my soul sister. So I know, I get it. What I absolutely love about you is that you are teaching women to awaken to the divineness within them, which is really what this podcast is all about. Mm-hmm. And you're doing this through 7 principles, I believe, codes in this book that were downloaded to you. They are divine. And so I want to touch a little bit upon that. But what inspired all of this?
Oh, my gosh.
What inspired all of this deep work?
So, that book, first of all, is a 10-year journey. Okay. And I always talk about and joke about how it's such a model of what it means to be a mother and a modern woman, because I was a mom. These principles came to me. I had to learn them. I had to create space to learn them and still keep showing up for my family in all the ways that most of us need to show up for our families, right? And so what really inspired this is that I was in a place in my life that wasn't fitting me. I was in a place in my life that I was kind of going through the motions because I felt I had to. And this longing and pain surfaced in a way that I couldn't ignore it. And in that moment, I talk about it in the book that I had this moment of like down on my knees in my home office and saying, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't live this way anymore. And I want out of the job that I had at the time. And I received an amazing blessing from the universe, a severance package that could support me for 6 months. And then that just kind of became my space of being able to go within, being able to share some of the already things that I was incorporating. And in that time period, I had launched this course called Reclaiming Your Power. And of course, it was about me reclaiming my own power, right?
We teach what we need to learn.
Well, until we've embodied it, and then we can teach what we've embodied, right? There's a process.
Yes.
And I was in process. And in that process, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, startled enough that I received, I was in the shower and I heard, hold these principles to be truth and to live by. And I was like, what? Where's this coming from? And I knew this was important, got out of the shower, wrote down what I heard. And I remember looking at them and saying, these are really nice, but I don't live this way.
Yes. Many women, I think most of us actually, get to a point in our lives where all of a sudden we wake up that something's missing, something's not there. We want more meaning. We want to feel more connected. Mm-hmm. And that inspires us to take a different path. I mean, for me, it was my recovery. I like you, I had a divine, actually kind of an intervention where I heard a different voice for the very first time that said, these are 5 steps that you must teach.
Mm.
And that took me on a different path. And I've been teaching those 5 steps of focus, intention, focus, acceptance, intention, thoughts, and helping others. So it's the same thing with your principle codes. Now, there's one code in here. We don't have time to do all 7 of them, but there was one that really spoke out to me.
I bet I know which one it is.
You are here to be your highest form.
Okay.
Of who you are and nothing else. And we are meant to be divine and to be powerful and to serve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you teach that particular one to women? How do you, get them to realize that that is a foundation for a better life?
Well, I mean, I think the honest thing is that I have to walk that fire. I have to live that. I have to experiment with what that really means for myself, right? And then invite others to experiment for themselves. What does that mean for them? Because my highest vibration, my highest expression is very different than yours. Yeah. And so it's not about one way of living. It's about an invitation of inquiry, an invitation of some discipline, quite frankly, discipline to create space, to be in a state of presence or meditation, or something like that, or maybe a static dance, whatever it may be. So the discipline to give ourselves that, and then the inquiry to say, all right, what is me at my highest vibration? And how can I let go of the conditionings that keep me bound to certain ideas of what it means to be a good human being, a good human, a successful woman, whatever all those parameters that we put in place or that other people have put in place for us, deconstructing those and coming back to our essence, coming back home to ourselves. Like, that's the biggest thing that I've been saying for the past at least half a year, is that I can teach you all kinds of tools, right? Like, I can teach you 2 decades worth of tools that I've uncovered and I incorporate into my practice. But at the end of the day, they're just tools. At the end of the day, what really matters is that we feel at home in who we are in this moment.
Beautiful. I think that we're all guilty of living our lives based on somebody else's expectations of what we should be and do. I know I did for years. I think every woman I've ever worked with or talked to has said, that expectation of living up to somebody else's desires was really what was poisoning their self-worth, their sense of direction, because they were not being authentic. They weren't doing what really felt right for them. So what are some initial steps that a woman could take to start to connect to that authenticity, start to connect to herself? I know you run these magical retreats. I've been watching the pictures, and I am going to do my best to get to your next one, which is an all-day event. But the photographs were just beautiful. And I could see that everybody was in this place of discovery and calm and connecting to the divine. It was just magnificent.
So fun.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's an essence that we really devoted ourselves to, and that, it's a journey back to ourselves. So, and to your question, what do we do with this? Sometimes the hot mess that we find ourselves in, right? I think the first thing is recognizing that it's not our fault. Mm-hmm. I have been very outspoken about the fact that much of the pain, no, not the pain, the suffering that we experience as humans, and especially as women, has to do with the patriarchy.
Yes.
So it's not our fault. This is not about becoming a victim, right? And saying it's someone else's fault, but it's about understanding the context in which we've grown up in, the context in which we have unfolded in, and understanding that the problems that we face today are not about some person or some gender. It's about our collective, right? And so, okay, the context, it's not our fault. We got to look at the whole picture. And then it's that compassion back to ourselves of that fire walk that we're doing every day. Just because there's a piece in your life that is feeling off doesn't mean you're off, right? Just because you have this like thing that's like, no, I don't like the way these relationships are going, doesn't mean that everything about us is wrong or all the work we've done so far means nothing. It's an aspect that is calling us forward to be addressed and to be brought into healing and to be brought into wholeness. And it doesn't make the whole wrong, and it's not an opportunity for us to like be super harsh on ourselves and hate on ourselves. It's an opportunity, in fact, for us to go into deeper compassion and honesty.
Beautiful. And don't you think that what's happening out in the world, a lot of the craziness within our own country and just everything that's going on is waking up our consciousness in a huge way. And that has inspired women to say, I'm not taking any more of this.
I know.
I am not doing this anymore. I'm going to claim my voice.
Yeah.
And the way they've stepped up with Me Too and the Women's March, they're starting to work together to collaborate, to create this incredibly powerful energy so that women can move forward and be who they're meant to be. They're recognizing that they've been suppressed and they're not going to do it anymore.
Absolutely.
There's an awakening. It's wonderful to watch. It's been painful, but also wonderful.
Yeah, agreed.
You mentioned a tool in this book. And now I have a lot of spiritual practices. I've traveled all over. But there was something in here that I had never, ever heard of before. And it was the 9-star key.
Aha.
So I immediately calculated what I was, and I'm an 8.
Okay. Okay. So you're going through a 4-tree year? Is that right? 8, 9, 1.
No, I'm soil.
4, 5. You're going through a 5 soil year. Okay, cool. Yeah. So for, people who are listening, if you don't have the book, there is a calculation that goes into trying to figure out what type you are, which is all based on, it's a piece taken from the I Ching. So it was part of my Feng Shui training 16 years ago. And it's a piece that allows you to sort of see what elements in nature are more prevalent in who you are. And based on that, not just an opportunity to get to know yourself, but it's also an opportunity to know what season you're stepping into each year. So the way that you can get your hands on this chart, one is if you get the book, awesome, it's there. And if you don't have the book, if it's okay for me to mention the Facebook group.
Yes.
So I have a Facebook group that's called Women on Purpose Podcast. And in that, I have the chart that people can get for free. And then what you do is you calculate, you look at what year you were born. And if you were born from February 4th onward, you look at that year. If you were born February 4th and before, so into January, then you look at the previous year. What it has allowed me and what I've been inviting people into for the past 10 years is to prepare for life, prepare for the coming year in a way that's authentic, in a way that's compassionate, in a way that understands the cyclical nature of life, the seasons that we experience. Because some years, you feel it. It come December, you're saying like, that was like the worst year of my life. Or you're like, that was the best. And so what I kind of come away with is like, I don't really have to wait the whole year to kind of know the energy that's coming up for me. I know it ahead of time and I can plan accordingly. But more importantly, I can be present to everything that arises in my life that kind of coincides with that theme. So for you, for instance, you're going into 5 soil year. And I think that most of us who go through a 5 soil year are like, oh my God, that was like the worst year. But really, because it's a year where we get to explore balance. We get to explore healing. We get to explore some karmic patterns. And when those things arise and we start thinking, I thought I had already dealt with this. I don't know what's happening. It's a reminder of how much work you have done and the pieces that are needing just some tweaking, right? And it's an awareness back to ourselves of how much we have done, and yet also remembering like, okay, there's a little more here. And I mean, I'm telling you, in a 5 soil year, it is all about how do I not deplete myself, and how do I come back to that yin and yang harmonious state of being as much as possible? And what's not allowing me to go into that place?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I never ever heard of that before. Fascinating. And you use another tool, which is one of my favorites, human design.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And if women could embrace that there are these tools that can clarify, unravel some of the mystery that we have in our heads about ourselves and what we're meant to do and how we're meant to live, that they're, like, I love numerology, astrology, the human design. There are things that can really kind of give us a sense of direction.
Absolutely.
And can, open up doorways and take away some of the filters that we live behind. And human design for me was fascinating.
Yeah.
It's it could be a whole day's conversation. It's just, how long ago did you get attracted to doing that?
So, I have a reflector daughter, and as you know, they make up 1% of the population. They have every open center, every chakra completely open. So they are sponges to the world, and they are a reflection and a marker for how we're doing as a society, as a community, as a family. And we were in total crisis. That's the honest thing. We were in total crisis, and we were very committed as a family to not bringing in any kind of allopathic medicine, no medication, because she was very little. And we wanted to do it holistically to kind of do the healing or support me as the mom. And so we really were desperate. And somebody said to me, have you heard of human design? And I was like, no, but at this point, I just take anything. Just give it to me. And I took a Parenting by Human Design by my friend Karen Curry Parker. And that's when I was introduced to this. And it really gave me this perspective and understanding of who the soul was, her sensitivities, and the responsibility that we had as a couple and as a family to provide an environment that really was supporting her. And then so it's kind of like, you can think of like, well, if she's a reflection of the community at large, you can think about the world, and that's true. You can think about where you live, and that's true. But ultimately, it is also about the family unit and the environments that they're in. Mm-hmm. And they have this bigger destiny thing I really see in them, is that their well-being is such a marker with how we're doing as a society. And even though things are not perfect in this moment, and you and I have chatted about this right now, right? Things aren't perfect right now. We're in growing pains big time. There is still, if we can listen to these beautiful people and listen to the messages that they're bringing us, we can kind of bring perspective of, okay, we live in this world. We're not of this world, but how do we still function in the world and the choices that we make? And so, anyway, long story short, she's the reason why I came into human design. And then it just kind of snowballed in my life. Big time. It just totally snowballed in my life. I mean, for myself, I use it. Been using it for over 13 years. And then the deep understanding that I had of the mechanics of relationships, specifically my relationship to my partner of 20 years, and how the impact of our designs, of our charts have with one another in business, in personal, in every way, right? So I'm for sure a student of human design. I am obsessed with human design. Every time that I have a chart in front of me and I get to do a consult, I am like in love with this person. Like I'm just like beaming. I can't wait to talk to them because it's like I get to show you the map of your soul.
Wow. Wonderful. What are you?
I'm a manifesting generator.
Me too.
I'm 4-1. How about you?
Oh, I forget my numbers. Oh, I know I'm a manifesting generator. I haven't looked at it in a while. I had it done about 2 years ago.
Oh, cool.
I don't think I'm a 4-1 though.
No, there's few of us.
Yeah. But I came up as a manifesting generator. Yeah.
So fun.
How do women get started on this path? What do you recommend for women that want to go deeper? They want to really know what their soul is. They want to understand the depth of the magnificence that's within them. What is the first step they could take?
I mean, we could go into tools, and I would definitely say that human design is an incredible tool. Like do your chart. It will show you things about yourself that will be such a recognition of who you are and what you're here to do, your gifts and your sensitivities. So that's like tool wise. But I think in a bigger picture, I would say that starting with the place where we feel most pain. And maybe that's not a sexy answer, but
good one. It's a good one. Good is not always sexy, sweetie. At my age, I know that.
Yeah, I mean, where our pain is, like where our pain lies, it's also where the bliss and the magic and the sweetness lies, if we allow ourselves that space, right? And I know that we live in a world that doesn't exactly support that, we live in a world that's really calling us to like be in our power, which is awesome, be like manifest happiness, which is awesome. And yet, if we're trying to override authentic emotions, authentic trauma, authentic pain, authentic things that we really got to deal with, if we're trying to override that with happy thoughts, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I think we're really trying to fabricate something that is not really real. And maybe that's not sexy. Maybe that's not the quick answer that we all love, but it's the most honest thing that I can say is that, when you said we teach that which we most need to learn, I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't have everything figured out, but I have walked this for so long and so deeply and so intimately and so devoted that I feel that I embody these. Even some of the principles, like, yeah, I'm still a student of like what that really means. But I'm really embodying it because I've done this work, because I've gone through years of the grittiness of it. And it didn't always look pretty, but I always trusted. Like I always trusted the divine. I always had beautiful people who showed up in my life who supported me through it. Karen being one of them, who's always been there.
I think I love your response because I think that women try to dismiss pain, which is the biggest mistake. Pain has been my greatest teacher. because it has shown me that I must take a different path. I must make different choices. So I've embraced my pain. I've sat with it, felt it, processed it, tried to understand it, and then say, where does this lead me now? Where do I go from here? And I've used it as a tool in my own life to make massive transformation and changes that otherwise would never have happened. And my new book, Broken Open, that's really what I talk about, is feeling the pain. Don't dismiss it. Know that it's there to teach us something. And there's a lesson always connected to pain. It's a wake up. It's our body saying, hey, hey, hey.
Totally.
Pay attention to this. This is significant.
Yeah.
And if you look at it that way, it can then take you on a path that is beautiful, that is miraculous, that is wonderful, but you can't step over it. If you step over it, then you don't have the foundation that you need to create what you want.
And it also reminds me of how important it is to have sacred space, you know, to do that walk. And people who are not going to let you get lost in the abyss and then the darkness. I mean, I think there's intelligence and a wisdom about walking that, right? Being in that dark night of the soul type of thing, but also knowing and having people who will pull you out when you've gone a little too far.
I could talk to you all day, Asha. I mean, this is wonderful. And the work that you're doing with your retreats is bringing so many of those tools in and creating that sacred space for women to open up, to reveal, to look at new modalities that will take them on that path that they so desire. You have some beautiful offerings on your website. I'd love for you to explain to the audience something that they can access through you on your site. So please tell us what you have.
Yeah, so
it's always a free gift, which is wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm really feeling that based on the conversation that we had today. You know, we talked about pain, and I think pain can be such a complex thing and such a thing of like, I don't know what to do with this thing that came up. I was triggered, you know, I'm driving along and somebody cuts me off and I feel something and it's like, it was what I'm feeling, not being in the moment, or is it being in the moment? What do I do with this? Am I being judgy? Am I like, you know, all these like things that come up in our head. And what I have walked is a practice that is called presence. And the practice of presence is a practice that can be initiated through meditation. But when you really get to the depth of a meditative state, what you're doing in quieting your mind is that you're really, really present with the sensation, with the vibration that you're experiencing. So the free gift, it's what I called my Miracles Workbook. And the Miracles Workbook is really just walking you through that process of how do I quiet my mind, stay in the present moment, and what do I do with that present moment? And it's a walk, you know, it's not a quick thing, but when you catch the wave of being in presence, you really can stand in meetings, in front of people that you're speaking to and that you're nervous, any kind of thing that comes up, even driving and somebody cuts you off. And you're when you're in that state of presence, you can still drive. You really get to move that energy. And then that energy gets to bring you information in this kind of subtle, maybe feminine way, esoteric way. But the mind has proven to us that it can't solve this problem. And so it's time to kind of bring in the bigger pieces of us, our sensing, our emotion, and really bring it to light. So the link is ashaisnow.com/miracles workbook, and all one word together, ashaisnow.com/miracles workbook.
And I'll put that in the show notes.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Wonderful. This has been a joy, and I hope I see you soon. I'm penciling that in on my calendar, and
pen it in then.
Yeah, I know. As I said, it just looked beyond. It looked wonderful.
It is beyond, because it's the energy we create together.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bless you, girl. What's happening with all those beautiful puppies?
So they're all spoken for.
Oh,
I know. Yeah.
yeah.
They so they're with a breeder. So my dogs, Alice is with the breeders, and they have a wait list. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice dog. Beautiful.
they're gorgeous.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. It was awesome.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.